Once again, good evening to everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar. Before we start off, on behalf of PST, I have been advised. I've been requested by the PST president to give a brief introduction to the hospital pharmacy and the webinar that we are planning to initiate from today onwards. If the president will be able to join us, he will join us later on, and he will give a brief. But just to start off, we have formed a hospital pharmacy section under the Pharmaceutical Society of Tanzania, and the main aim of this section is to be the think tank of hospital pharmacy of all the hospital pharmacists or pharmaceutical personnel, whereby we can share our achievements, we can share our challenges, and we can advise the PST leadership on what can be done to improve or to take the pharmacy section to the next level. So that is the brief introduction to the hospital pharmacy section. We have terms of reference. We have a committee that is set in place, and as I said, the main aim is to be the advocates of hospital pharmacy practice in our country, and advise the relevant stakeholders on how best we can take our profession in the hospital arena to the next level. Furthermore, we will even be working closely with the FIP, International Pharmaceutical Federation, to see how best we can tap into their resources, which can enhance our services or our practice in our country. We can even collaborate and share best practices amongst ourselves, and even look into into data collection and research as well. So these are some of the main highlights that the hospital pharmacy section will be concentrating on. But all this is not possible without all of your support. This section is made up of all the hospital pharmacy personnel. So we would like to encourage all of you, please give us your views. Let's work together and take this profession to the next level. Now, coming to the webinars, we have one way of educating, and by the way, education is also one of the other aims of our section. We said let's start off our section by having monthly webinars. So this is the first one, whereby we are going to introduce what hospital pharmacy is all about from a local perspective, and from even the perspective of the Kenyan Hospital Pharmacy Association. So that since we are starting, it's good to see what others are even doing. We can even learn from the success stories of other countries, and how best we can take the section on a successful journey. Without wasting much of your time, the first agenda that is there on our table is a talk. As we know, the theme of this webinar is overview of hospital pharmacy, key roles of pharmacists, pharmaceutical personnel to ensure quality and standard pharmaceutical care. Okay, as we know, quality is everything about patient safety, and to have a standardization whereby all hospitals, or most of the hospitals at least, are offering the same care. First up, we have pharmacist Zimbwe Kauke Bakari, who is the chief pharmacist for Benjamin Mkapa Hospital, Dodoma. He's an oncoclinical pharmacist, and is even quite active in antimicrobial stewardship program. He works with AMUC Surveillance Human Health Fleming Fellow, and is an alumni there. I think his JD is very impressive. I think I'll leave it to him to introduce further, but he's one of the very key figures in the hospital pharmacy, and I would invite him, who will take us through for the next 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Karibu Bakari.
Okay.
Habari zenu?
Hello.
Njema.
Good afternoon, good evening, and have a good day. So thank you for introduction and a little introduction about myself. Habari za jioni kila mmoja. Kama ilivyozungumza Mujahidi, mimi ni clinical pharmacist from Benjamin Mkapa Hospital. I'll take through the first part of the presentation. So an overview on the pharmacy services, key roles of pharmaceutical personnel to ensure quality and standard. So this is a, I think everybody can slide. Hello, Mujahid.
Yeah, we can see your slide, Bakari.
Bakari, unaweza ukafungua maiki na ukaendelea, na tuombe wengine ambao hawa present wasifungue maiki please.
Yes, Bakari, are you on? You can continue. We can hear you.
So I think Zimbabwe is having some issues. He is not in this meeting anymore.
Okay, so not to worry. So what we can do is, Dr. Hillary, are you ready to start your presentation? Then we can have Zimbabwe joining in later.
Yeah, it's okay, Mujahideen.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yes.
So, sorry for this technical hiccup. So second, we shall start off with the second speaker, who is Dr. Hillary from Kenya. He heads HOPAC, okay, the Hospital Pharmacy Association in Kenya, who have been there for the past, I think, more than 10 years. Very experienced, very matured organization, and he has kindly agreed to give us an overview of what they have been doing. By profession, he's a clinical pharmacist, and he will give us his detailed, I mean, he will introduce himself. Karibu, Dr. Hillary.
Thank you, Mujahideen. I hope I'm audible. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you put into presentation so it's full screen?
Is it okay now?
Yes, carry on, Asante.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. From the introduction, I'm Dr. Hilary Kagwa from Kenya. I'm a clinical pharmacist by profession, by training. I did my bachelor's degree in clinical pharmacy master's program at University of Nairobi. I'm also a trained renal pharmacy practitioner in Kenya. On top of that, I'm here to represent the Hospital Pharmacy Association of Kenya. And I'm also the county director of health in Kiambu County, in one of the counties in Kiambu. So I've been asked to share our experience in Kenya regarding hospital pharmacy practice, and which I intend to do briefly. So these are the outline of my presentation: situation of hospital pharmacy practices in Kenya, the roles that pharmaceutical personnel perform in hospital pharmacy services in Kenya. Then I'm going to just briefly talk on the advantages of having a dedicated section to advocate for hospital pharmacy practices, and the best way to improve inter-countries collaboration, like what we are doing right now. So that's the international logo for hospital pharmacy, because I'm going to focus more on hospital pharmacy. So just briefly to introduce the services in Kenya, the first degree program or School of Pharmacy was established in 1974 through our first president, Honorable Kenyatta. But before that, there were colleges that were training pharmaceutical technologies to bridge the gap on pharmaceutical services in Kenya. So, but currently we have grown. We have over 9 universities offering pharmacy degree programs in Kenya, and 2 universities are offering master's program. The pharmacy profession in Kenya is regulated by the Pharmacy and Poison Board. Then our umbrella association for pharmacists is what is called as Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya, or PSK. So, and then the various sectors under pharmacy practice is represented by associations. Like the first one, we have the Hospital Pharmacy Association of Kenya, which I'm the president currently. Then we have Association of Pharmaceutical Industry. We have pharmacists who work under regulatory affairs, pharmacy who practice in community pharmacy space. Then there are those who hold diplomas of pharmacy in Kenya. They are called pharmaceutical technologies. They have their association. So loosely, the other ones have not formed the official associations, like those pharmacists in teaching institutions, like in academia, those involved in research, and those like some of us who are in management and the policy level. So basically, this is an overview of what I'm going to talk about the hospital pharmacy practice, which is mainly clinical.
Sorry, Jose,
So,
can you mute all except the speaker, please?
yes, so if you can go ahead there. So these are these are generally an overview of what a hospital pharmacist does in Kenya, which we can start with the clinical there. We provide medicines information. We are involved in quality assurance, supply chain management in terms of medicine acquisition, purchasing, technical services, including dispensing, medicines management, information technology. ICT is a very important part of life nowadays. We are also involved in research and development, education and training, especially for our students and young pharmacists, then medicine supplies and dispensary. So in Kenya, at least as I mentioned, apart from the bachelor's program, we have specialties that people can venture into and specialize, and they are recognized by the government. And one of the major areas of hospital pharmacy practice is clinical pharmacy, where you can specialize in internal medicine, pharmacy practice, critical care, infectious diseases, pediatrics, pharmacy practice, oncology, which is a very big space that is coming up, and there is a huge demand for pharmacists in Kenya. Surgery, especially because of antibiotics use, obstetric gynecology, pharmaceutical practice, and many other areas. I've just highlighted the major one that we are doing in Kenya. Then another area of specialty in Kenya is pharmacovigilance and pharmacoepidemiology, where we look at issues to do with adverse drug reactions, drug qualities, genomics relating to people or how they react to drugs. Then we have another major specialty on pharmacology and toxicology, molecular pharmacology, industrial and analytical pharmacy. Others are public health pharmacy. As we are all aware, the world is moving toward primary health care, and we want pharmacists to be involved in the primary health care, including the aspect of self-care and educating the community. So we have a specialty of public health pharmacy. Then people can, if you want, you can also specialize on supply chain management, health economics, especially due to finances and justifying the resource allocation to pharmacy and medicines. Then we have pharmacognosy and alternative medicines pharmacy practice, where a person specializes on the extraction of medicinal substances from the natural resources. Then we have renal pharmacy services, where in my introduction, I mentioned I've trained in East Africa Kidney Institute, where we learn about the practice of pharmacy in patients who are undergoing dialysis or with renal failure. Another area is non-communicable diseases, pharmacy practice, especially issues to do with diabetes, hypertension, cancer, asthma, all those non-communicable. Pharmacists have a very huge role to play, which we venture into in Kenya. Then there's the geriatric pharmacy practice in Kenya, where we just specialize in the conditions that come with old age, and also issues to do with drug adherence. Of course, you know, the geriatric population, their dosage is not like the below 60. So pharmacy are also specializing in that area in Kenya. So this is just an overview of what I've mentioned. Pharmacists being involved in patient counseling, medication reconciliation, especially when a patient is transitioning from one point of care to another one, like in admission, during admission and discharge, and when they're coming for a clinic. It's a pharmacist's role to ensure all the drugs are captured and whichever changes are made are captured. Then disease state management, I'll talk about that, comprehensive medication review, just looking at a patient in an overall way, hospital discharge management, general practice, which involves dispensing, pharmacovigilance, a very important aspect of pharmacy practice, and antimicrobial stewardship. Personally, I'm very passionate about antimicrobial resistance. I'm the focal person for our county, where we advocate for rational use of medicines to discourage people for self-prescription, misuse of antibiotics, so that we can evade this pandemic that is with us. If you look at the data on antimicrobial resistance, it says if we don't take action now, by the year 2050, we'll be losing close to 10 million people due to antimicrobial resistance. So it's a very interesting area for pharmacists to venture into and make impact. And of course, patient counseling. So in Kenya, apart from what I mentioned, there are other areas that are emerging and we are venturing into medication therapy clinics, which are special clinics in hospitals or in community pharmacies, which are run by pharmacists, where we just counsel or follow up patients with chronic illnesses who have to be on medication throughout. Then there's the radio pharmacy practice in the cancer space, where pharmacists are involved in the generation of radioisotopes. Oncology pharmacy practice. Kenya has a huge demand for pharmacists who are specialized in cancer care. Then in Kenya, we have also established in all units, excuse me, we are trying to establish, we have established a unit that manages all products and technologies, that is including medicines and pharmaceuticals, X-ray consumables, laboratory agents, nutritional components, which all are housed under the pharmacy department, both in the national and in the county governments. So currently, as we speak, I'm also in a forum where we are developing the competency framework for pharmacists in Kenya, where we are outlining specific skills that you need to be a pharmacist in Kenya and which areas you can work and the qualification that you need. We are also reviewing the code of conduct of pharmacists, the levels of practice. We are convincing the government from the lowest level of healthcare, from the community dispensary health center, how many numbers of pharmaceutical personnel are required and what services can be offered there, in all the way up to the referral facilities, which are called level 6. And that impacts on the staffing standards for pharmacy practice in Kenya. So these are a summary of what I've talked about. In hospital in Kenya, where pharmacists are involved in professional dispensing. And when I say professional dispensing, it involves is to do with the audit of the prescriptions. Is it properly written? Are all the patient details written? Is the drug prescribed in the right dosage for the right duration, right strength? And does the patient have any allergy situation with the drugs or conditions with the drugs? So the other aspect that hospital pharmacists are involved is participating in inpatient care, especially for patients who are admitted in a hospital, where pharmacists is a very crucial player in a multidisciplinary team, where they are part of medical doctors, nurses, nutritionists, physiotherapists, and they are involved in making decisions that affect the patient care. I've talked about medication therapy management clinics, supply chain management, where we are managing all aspects of products in healthcare. Antimicrobial stewardship is a very important role that pharmacists, we offer our services. Infection prevention committee, we are part of them, and quality improvement committees, especially in hospitals. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have realized the important role that pharmacists can play, especially in the community pharmacy aspect, where pharmacists, even in hospital, have been trained on immunization practices, where we have a cohort of pharmacists in Kenya who have been trained on how to immunize people, especially on COVID, HPV vaccine, human papillomavirus vaccine. And now we are under a study of HIV prevention vaccines, which pharmacists are also greatly involved. Another area that we are venturing into is family planning, where pharmacists can offer these services, especially those who practice in family, in community pharmacy care. Nutrition services, I've talked about them. Primary health care, where pharmacists are involved in engaging with the community, especially in terms of rational use of antibiotics, avoiding self-prescription of antibiotics, issues to do with proper disposal of medicines. So, and everything that affects healthcare at the primary level. So we are also involved in operational research on pharmacy services. As Mujahideen has mentioned, research informs our practice so much. So we have not been left behind. We try to engage and share through workshop on what we have been able to do on research on our practice. Something like a point prevalence surveys of antimicrobial consumption in a hospital. Are they being prescribed well? What are the outcomes? What is the resources required? Are there wastages? So operational research is a very important aspect. So also in one of my mandates for this webinar was how we can advocate for hospital pharmacy services. And I can say as pharmacists, we are also part of trade unions in Kenya, especially the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, where we engage the government, especially in terms of employing more pharmacists to work in hospitals or in other areas, issues to do with remuneration, promotions, and such stuff. We are also have a program through the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya of promoting pharmacists who want to vie for political posts, both in the national and the county governments, on how, as an association, we can promote them in terms of finances, mobilization, and voting patterns. So we are also using documents that are in place, like human resources for health, so that we can advocate for more pharmacists being employed in healthcare to address all those healthcare issues. And that also informed the staffing norms and standards. So using these documents, at least we are able to have a conversation with the government on how pharmacists are important being employed and being deployed in all aspects of healthcare. And all this can only happen if we document what we do as hospital pharmacists, so which we are trying to do much. Maybe the last aspect of my presentation was how we can collaborate as inter-countries, especially on matters on hospital pharmacy. And as Mujahideen has mentioned, yes, Kenya is also, we have membership in FIP, International Federation of Pharmacists, or International Pharmaceutical Federation. Then we are also part of the Africa Hospital Pharmacy section and FIP. And also to mention, I did not capture here, we have a Young Pharmacist Association, which is also very active in FIP and also in Africa. And today, I'm also glad to be here because this is one of the regional pharmacy conferences that we can be having. 2 weeks ago, we had a Pharmaceutical Society Association in Kenya, and where we invited delegates from Rwanda, Uganda, and I think Nigeria. So I think in East Africa, we can also work on this so that we can share our experiences and learn from each other. And also ask us across about benchmarking efforts. We can learn from each other, South Africa. I know Mujahideen and Hamisi, we have been having conversation on what we are doing in each country so that we can learn from each other and promote hospital pharmacy practice. There's the issue of mentorship and exchange programs in East Africa, where if you are doing well in some, for example, anticoagulation clinics which are run by pharmacists, maybe you can send people either physically or online, maybe to come and see what we do. Renal pharmacy issues to do with the critical care, ICU care. So we can exchange students or even pharmacists in practice to come and learn from each other on what we are doing, so that we can learn the best practices across Africa. And I think with that, Mujahideen, I have been able to cover what I was mandated, but I'm open to questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hilary Kagwe, for the well elaborate the presentation. I think you covered well the different functions of hospital pharmacists, as well as area of your future growth. Like you gave us example on what you will be embarking on, things like family planning, immunization, and the likes. And what can we do work as a region? How can we collaborate? Santa Sana, and I think it was well received. We will be taking the questions towards the end after the pharmacist Zimbwe Bakari has given his talk. So I think I already introduced Zimbwe Bakari, and most of us, we know him. So Karibu, without wasting much of the time, Karibu, and you can present.
Asante sana. Let me share my slides. Please, could you allow me to share my slides?
Sir, can you please do the needful?
Thank you.
Proceed.
Thank you. Good evening once again. My name is Zimbwe Bakari. I'm a clinical pharmacist from Benjamin Mkapa Hospital. And also I'm the head of pharmacy department. I'm the hematology oncology clinical pharmacy by professional. And so I'm the antimicrobial surveillance expert. These are my supporters, targeted audience for this webinar. This is my biography and the disclosure informations. I have no relevant financial relationship to disclose as it is related.
Can you
to the
put in slideshow mode so that we can see the whole screen?
Yes.
Can you put the slideshow mode?
I have done. Maybe it's not moving. Have you seen my biography?
We don't see the slideshow more. Actually, we are viewing a single slide at once, but the left panel also is on the screen also.
Oh, sir, can you share? Do you have the presentation?
Could you share from your side?
Maybe try to share again and put a slide mode again.
Could you see them?
Yes, now it's
this
perfect.
is well.
Yes, it's okay, ma'am.
well-
Proceed.
Okay, thank you. So this is the content of my presentation, and let me start one of the role of a pharmacist in pharmaceutical personnel in hospital management. We know that all pharmacists are the member, especially for our head of department of pharmacy in our hospitals, is a member of hospital management team. Kwenye management team tunafahamu role yetu kubwa sana ni kuweza ku-ensure the best practice of the pharmacy, kusimamia practice nzima ya pharmacy na kushauri kwenye yale maeneo ambayo yana uhusiano moja kwa moja na pharmacy practice ndani ya hospitali. Lakini haishii hapo, we know that we have the other stakeholders like TMDA, Wizara ya Afya, Pharmacy Council and other expertise. Sisi tunakuwa ni linki, we are acting as a relay between hospital management team and other stakeholders in the hospital. Hospital medicine, the therapeutic committee, tunafahamu kabisa MTC ni moja ya component kubwa sana kwenye pharmacy practice kwenye hospital. Na mfamasia mkuu wa hospitali anakuwa ndio katibu wa MTC. Kwa maana yake hospital pharmacy ndio engine ya kusimamia practice nzima therapeutics ndani ya hospitali. So we have this role and we have new guidelines whereby every pharmacist in a hospital, he has to understand and to practice it. Na tunafahamu kabisa tuna maeneo makubwa muhimu sana. Maeneo haya pamoja hapo ni maeneo ya kufanya ya kupitisha maoteo ya dawa, kupitisha miongozo mbalimbali ya treatment na hata vile vile kuinfluence kwenye issue za reimbursement especially kwenye health insurances. Kwa hiyo ni vyema zaidi sisi kama wafamasia wa hospitali kuweza kufahamu zaidi miongozo hii ya hospital ya therapeutic committee na kuimplement kuensure the best practice of pharmacy na vile vile therapeutics outcomes inakuwa bora kabisa kwenye maeneo yetu. We know that we have another very component which is very important is about antimicrobial stewardship. Hii component ni muhimu sana kwa wafamasia, tuna act kama member sometimes in some settings but other like secretariat sometimes there's a chairperson, especially antimicrobial stewardship. Kwenye antimicrobial resistance, we work together with lab scientists in order to ensure the best implementation of antimicrobial sensitivity tests are being taken, surveillance, and even procurement of antibiotics should be rely on the resistance patterns within our settings or within our regions. Lakini vivyo kwa pharmacia tuna role kubwa sana ya kuensure antimicrobial use na antimicrobial consumption surveillance. Na hii ni role yetu moja kwa moja tunaisimamia kwa sababu you are expert to ensure the best use of antimicrobial. When we speak about use, tuna speak katika patient level. Tunazungumza about antimicrobial consumption is on facility level and the country level. Kwa ni antimicrobial use kwa kiwango gani wagonjwa wanatumia hizi dawa za antibiotics. Kwenye consumption kwa kiwango gani hospitali ina purchase hizi antibiotics. Kwa katika maeneo haya, katika maeneo ya management ni muhimu sana kwa wafamasia kwa hospitalini kuengage na kupractice kwa kiasi kikubwa na kuensure vile vile kuongeza component ya monitoring and evaluations. Kujipima kwa kiwango gani tumeperform, kutumia key performance indicators na kujipima kwa kiwango gani tumeweza kufanikiwa au kutokufanikiwa. Medicine and medical supplies inspections. Tunaona katika management part hii ni eneo letu kubwa sana. Sometimes utakuta watu wa procurement wana request names of inspectors. If without having the strong inspections team from the pharmacy kuweza kufanya inspections ya these medical supplies and the medicines, it will lead to the maybe a high number of expired drugs, high number of the not required medicines, and even we cannot speak with our maybe with our stakeholders like medical suppliers. Kwa kitu hiki kina low standard, kitu hiki kina low quality, this is not better, maybe packaging is not good, etc. Na hii tumeiona kwenye example kubwa sana kwenye zile dawa ambazo zinahitaji uangalizi. Mfano anti-cancer. Dawa za anti-cancer za vidonge. Kwenye standard ya dunia kwa sasa, dawa za anti-cancer vidonge zinatakiwa kwenye blister pack. Lakini sometimes you can find dawa ya cancer ya vidonge iko kwenye tin. Kitu ambacho it is ready to be exposed na mtu anakuwa kwenye danger kubwa sana. Kwa kwenye inspection we have to play our role to ensure the best inspection and to rely on the standard of our global. We know that we have the real role in management to evaluate tenders, bidders, and to award the tenders for medication and supplies. This is another part of us, especially in the hospital settings. We know that we have many brands. Brand can affect even the cost of the treatment. Brand can affect even the reimbursement. Brand can affect even the treatment outcome to our client. Na hizi brandi sometimes inakuwa zinaleta changamoto even to our client, wanakuwa wako too selective. But if in a hospital we can have the common understanding, ukaseti standard kama hospital pharmacist, hospital department on how to ensure this branding are good, it will be better for you, especially in the evaluations for bidders or for tenders, will be good also to ensure the availability of the quality, efficacy, safety, and cost-effective medicines in our settings. Role of pharmaceutical personnel in the therapeutics and clinical practice. This is another part of the practice of our pharmacy, and is a good role, and is most of us we apply more. But in some settings, in very few, and in the very little way we engage, especially in the planning of therapeutics plan, in the planning of therapeutics and the medicine reconciliations. Like the previous speaker said, this is our role. We have to influence, we have to facilitate even for clinicians. We know that we are custodian of knowledge of drug and the medicines, pharmacists. Our training, background training, we to be expert of medicines. So we have to play part to influence the treatment outcome, treatment planning, and even to make reconciliation, especially for the high level hospital like level S hospital, specialized zonal referral and regional referral hospital, whereby we receive a lot of the referral client to come to us. Pale ambapo tunapata wagonjwa wengi wa referral, ni time nzuri sana kuweza kufanya reconciliation. We make it reconcile from previous medications, current medications, previous investigations, current investigations, even in previous medical conditions. Where present illness ilikuwaje na sasa? Is it severe? Is it progressive or regress? Ni sehemu nzuri sana kwa pharmacy tukiweka kama teams na other clinicians, nurses. It's better to ensure outcomes. Otherwise, unaweza repeat the same molecules, the same drugs for the certain client. Unaongeza treatment, cost inakuwa ni kubwa, lakini outcome inakuwa iko poor. Kwa ni eneo zuri sana. Na ile eneo tunaliona hata kwenye antimicrobial. Unachukua test za antimicrobial, una test unakuta no growth, no growth, no growth. Maybe if you come background and you can reconcile with your client, inspect your client, you can see maybe she or he has a lot of using antimicrobes before coming after referral. Kwa ni eneo zuri sana kwa pharmacia wa hospitalini to engage, na ni taratibu unaanza kuanza kuwa katika part of the team, ku-influence, show the expertise, show the competency, show the willing, then you can come and the people can understand. World round and the pharmacist only clinic, hii ni kwenye world round is common, but pharmacist only clinic is not common, it's not familiar in our settings. We regret for this, but this is very important and it could be done. Could be done katika sehemu ambayo ya pharmacy, especially for outpatient pharmacy. Kuna kuwa na room ambayo mgonjwa, kwa wale unaweza select a few cases, especially for geriatrics, ambapo wanakuwa na dawa nyingi. Mnapata nao time kufanya ile exiting meeting na client, kujua na dawa ngapi anakunywaje na zinamletea outcome ipi. Therapeutics drug monitoring, ambayo hii ni nzuri sana tunaifanya, sio lazima uwe na machines. Unaweza kaifanya clinically. Kuangalia kwa mgonjwa symptoms zimeondoka kiasi gani. Hiyo ni therapeutic drug monitoring. You can do it clinically. But kwa wale ambao wana uwezo wa kuwa na mitambo mikubwa kama Cobas 6000 ambayo inapima analytical hizo chemistry mbalimbali paka za dawa, wanaweza kufanya therapeutic drug monitoring ya dawa kama aminoglycosides, like gentamicin. Ukaifanyia hizo drug monitoring. Baadhi ya psychotropic drugs. Baadhi ya dawa ambazo kama vile baadhi kama za anti-cancers au baadhi ya immunosuppressant drugs zinaweza kufanyika. But it's better we can ensure even clinically. Tukaengage therapeutic drug monitoring ikafanyika vizuri kwenye hospitali zetu. Tukapata time ya kuongea na wagonjwa, kuangalia namna bora, je, hizi dawa zinawaletea shida au zinawaletea faida yoyote. formulary, protocol, SOP, guidelines development. Katika hiki kitengo, katika hii sehemu ni muhimu sana kwenye swala la kuensure therapeutics and clinical practice. Tunafahamu kabisa Wizara ya Afya iliemphasize kwa kiasi kikubwa na iliinvest kwa kiasi ku train hospitals, especially for government hospitals. But this could be advantage for the private hospitals. Could train hospitals kuwa na personal, kuwa na hospital formulary zao. Na ilikuwa na lengo kubwa. Kwanza, we have different practice in each hospital. We have different expertise and even specialization in each hospital. Disease pattern is different. Even the stocking and the procurement of medicines is different. Even our diagnostic equipment is different also. If you look on all of this one, is the one which leads the Minister of Health influence every hospital to have its own formulary, so that to have the specific medicine to concentrate from the National Essential Medicine List. Kwa utaona kwa umuhimu gani kwa kila hospitali kuwa na formulary. Hii itakusaidia kupunguza cost of treatment, even to focus from the few number of the medicines and the medical supplies. Protocols for treatment. Protocol hizi ni moja hapo kama the empirical treatment protocol, surgical prophylaxis protocol, and even sometimes people they can think some protocol should be developed by the pharmacist, especially if we want maybe to implement the first line treatment for hypertension. Maybe regardless of your level of hospital. Kwa kuna umuhimu vile vile pharmacia kuengage na kutengeneza hizi protocols taratibu. SOPs like for dispensing, SOPs like for administrations, guidelines, especially mfano kama Mbeya Zone Referral Hospital, they have the specific guidelines for antimicrobial stewardship. Wana guideline yao kabisa kwa ajili ya antimicrobial stewardship. Wameitengeneza pale kwenye hospitali yao. Na hii baada ya with the accumulation of evidences walizokuwa nazo, wakafocus kwenye certain type of antibiotics. Kuna baadhi antibiotics wakaziwa kwenye quarantines, hizi zisitumike ili kuweza kuregain zile sensitivity patterns zake. Pharmacovigilance, pharmacoepidemiology, hii ni eneo muhimu sana kwa wafamasia kwenye hospitali ambao tunalifanya kwa sasa kwenye baadhi ya hospitali, lakini even from the district hospital tunaweza tukawa tuna maeneo kabisa kama kwenye hospitali, kwenye section ya pharmacy ambayo inafanya kazi ya pharmacovigilance, pharmacoepidemiology, kufahamu trend ya matibabu ya dawa zetu, madhara ya dawa under the Drug Information Center. Vaccinations, screening and outreach program. Wafamasia wengi sana kwenye hospital setting huwa tunajiweka nyuma sana kuweza kupractice na kuengage kwenye hizi outreach program. Lakini tunafahamu, as I said before, we are custodian of knowledge of drug and medicines. Sisi ndio advocates. Sisi ndio tunatakiwa tusimamie dawa, tusimamie na vifaa tiba na hizo outreach program. So it's high time for us to engage in vaccinations like we have seen the experience in Kenya. It's high time to engage in screening programs like for cancer, other diseases, and outreach different program for gynecology or cardiovascular camps. Role for pharmaceutical personnel in research, innovation, and training. This is one of the great part and is one which can make us to be valued in our institutions, but to become well updated regarding the current and even the development. You know, the science of the drugs nowadays is evolving every day. Our practice in the research can lead us to become the pharmacists who know, the pharmacists who being updated, know maybe the difference treatment approaches or maneuvers in our hospital settings, as far as our patient can gain and can get some advantages. One of them is assessing the rational use of medicines by using international network of rational use of medicine indicators. This is INRUD indicators. INRUD indicators ilikuwa developed na WHO mwaka 1993 kuhakikisha vituo vya afya vio vina uwezo kujipima uwezo wa vituo vya afya au vya madaktari wanavyoprescribe rational. Kwa hiyo unaweza kutumia hizi indicators, mkachukua eneo dogo tu hata la anti-pain likafanyika kwenye hospitali, mkaangalia namna gani rational prescribing of anti-pains, is it following the pain ladder or is not. Kwa hiyo unaweza kuta sisi tuna treat PUD, kumbe is because of the strenuous a large number of the polypharmacy of anti-pain to our client. Antimicrobial surveillance and antibiogram development. Hili ni eneo ambalo policy, ni eneo ambalo kwa pharmacia kwenye hospitali we have to emphasize na tulibebe, ni eneo letu kuhakikisha antibiograms zinatengenezwa kwenye hospitali. Antibiogram hizi is influenced from the supply chain of the antibiotics to the procurement to the dispensing of antibiotics. kuwa antibiogram yako imeonyesha nitrofloxacin ndio iko sensitive over the other, over ciprofloxacin, it should be there. But still you can find it is very awkward. You can find sometimes still ciprofloxacin is being procured in a high quantity. We know that in some circumstances you should need ciprofloxacin. But the prominent drugs which show sensitivity like spironolactone is not available in the setting. Antimicrobial surveillance use, like using the quality prevalence survey, yield indicators, or use of antimicrobial consumption tools. Unaweza mkafanya hizi research, hazihitaji fundi kubwa, ni pesa ndogo, inafanyika pale hospitali. You can review even for 3 years. Like we as in Benjamin Mkapa, we have started to review antibiotics use for 3 years, 2021 to 2022. Tunafanya hiyo review, ilikuwa haijafanyika kabisa. Tunafanya review ya miaka 3 ya kuangalia antimicrobial resistance surveillance, antimicrobial use, antimicrobial consumption, kwa kutumia tools zote. Then we can come up with evidences. Either we can build the guidelines, either we can build the protocols and some practical treatment, etc. Everything can be there, and we can start afresh on advising, management, even the Ministry of Health and other stakeholders. Pharmacoeconomics analysis and the costing of treatment. This is our area to make an analysis for what it costs the procurement of medicine taken from the main budget of the hospital, the main budget of the department. Matibabu yanachukua nafasi gani ya gharama ya budget nzima ya hospitali. Ni muhimu kufahamu hivi vitu. Vinasaidia sana kwenye policy makers. Unapoenda kumwambia baby the chief pharmacist au unamwambia the medical chief officer wa Tanzania, this and this inakuwa kidogo ina evidences, and this is our areas in hospital settings. Establishment of new services. Lazima innovation, we have to look on the other areas too, ili kuongeza kipato, lakini kuongeza wigo wa practice, like community pharmacies, compounding pharmacies, drug information centers, train field pharmacy, student, interns, staff on the best practice hospital pharmacy services. Ili ni eneo ambalo letu vile vile kwenye training, short courses, establishment and provision. Unakuta hospitali ina facilities za training, lakini unakuta kwenye hospitali hiyo ina courses zingine zipo, lakini courses, even the short courses ambazo zinaweza kutolewa pale baby za compounding, the best practice of dispensing, wafamasia tumekuwa nyuma, tuwezi kuintroduce, lakini wenzetu wanafanya na wanapata kipato, wanaongeza kipato, lakini vile vile wanaongeza visibility. Participating in clinical trials. Kuna baadhi ya hospitali zina uwezo mkubwa kama MNH na hospitali zingine sina participate kwenye clinical trials. This is our areas as the pharmacists to participate in clinical trials as expert of the drug, campaigning, outreach program, vaccination and immunization program, screening and early detection of diseases. The another role of pharmaceuticals is on supply chains in health commodities in hospital, which is very well practiced and very well executed in health settings, like in forecasting and quantification of medicines and medical supplies. But still, we have the challenge to, is it our procurement and the forecasting, is it influenced, is evidence-based? Hii ndio mojawapo ya kitu kinatusaidia sana kupunguza expired drugs kwenye area zetu za practice. Is it evidence-based? This is where we have to come back, and we're going back after this webinar to look and evaluate yourself. Is it evidence-based? Nikiprocure mimi amoxicillin and clavulanic acid, is it evidence-based? For what condition? Hii quantity ambayo nimeiweka hapa ina relate? Medicine inventory management and the control of expiry and medicines, substandard, counterfeit and biomimics. Tuna uelewa mzuri wa counterfeit, substandard, biomimics, unfit medicines zingine, packaging yako, administration, even dosage strengths. Are we have good understanding of that one? Have a good understanding on the branding, management of narcotics medicines and the substance abuse addictions clinics? Vile vile ni katika eneo letu sisi tuna stock hizi dawa, lakini we have the role to play on making the surveillance and inspections? Au tunasubiri maybe team DA aje ndio tukague? Do we have our own inspections within our settings? Zinatumika vizuri? Is the pain ladder being followed on administration of narcotics? Provision of guidance of storage of biologics and the disposal medicines. Unaweza ukashangaa dawa ambayo ni biologics kama insulin iko kwenye friji la kuwekea ice cream. But as a pharmacist, you know that we have pharmaceutical refrigerators. Na inatakiwa hiyo kwenye temperature 2 to 8. But unaweza kaenda kusoma iko kwenye temperature 0, negative, ishaganda. Unaweza kukuta kwenye temperature above 8, ilishakuwa tayari ni juicy. Is it real? We have to look on all these angles to make the best practice in the pharmacy in our hospitals. Role of pharmaceutical personnel in a good dispensing practice, dispensing of medicines in patient counseling is our role, as I said that the previous speaker. We have to emphasize our client have good understanding on use of medicines, not only about colors and the size of tablets, but the client have the better understanding on his or her medications, handling. Kuna dawa zingine hataki kuzishika kwa mkono, refills, kama mgonjwa anahitaji refill na anapata tendency yake ya dawa zake kliniki yake kwenye specialized hospital, kaja yuko kwenye district hospital. Je, wewe akija kwako unampaje counseling ya kuhusu refill ya drugs? Even kaja kwako utampaje refill ya drugs? Identification of medication prescription errors, side effects and event drug reactions. In order for you to have the good understanding to identify errors, you should be ahead of prescriber, especially in the issue of therapeutics, should be ahead of prescriber. Without that, become ahead, you can't identify even the errors of prescribing, errors of dispensing, even errors of using medicines. Integrate antimicrobial sensitivity tests like in watch and receive the antibiotics, lab result profile, liver function test, renal function test, complete blood count, clotting blood, complete blood count, and the clotting factors, blood clotting parameters, electrolyte in prescribing. Na vile vile hizi parameters influence prescribing, they influence even the use of the drugs. And there, the previous slide is where you can use clinical use of therapeutic drug monitoring kwa kutumia parameter hizi. Lakini we know that, especially for this emphasize, the pharmacist yuko pale ana dispense medicine, antibiotics za watch na reserve, ambazo ni lazima kuambatanisha majibu ya kacha. Still he's not hata anaweza kukata hafahamu, yuko aware even hivyo vitu vinahitajika na vina umuhimu kubwa sana. Inawezekana una influence manunuzi ya Piperacin tazobactams, lakini una 80% ya resistance ya Piperacin tazobactam katika kituo chako. Kwa maana yake unamuingiza mgonjwa kwenye gharama ya dawa wakati angeweza kunufaika na gentamicin. This is what we have to look and we have to integrate in our practice. Assessing guidelines compliance. Do we complement assessing the guideline compliance from prescriber and even for we pharmacists? Je, kwa muda gani tunajifanyia evaluation sisi wenyewe wa pharmacia kwenye hospitali kuangalia ni kwa kiwango gani STG imekuwa followed, ni kwa kiwango gani the guidelines ya HIV ya TB zimekuwa followed. This is the one of our areas, and this should influence also in procurement, prescribing and dispensing. Communication relay between the prescriber, nurses, scientist and the patient. Tunatakiwa tuwe na lugha laini, tuwe na ushirikiano mzuri na timu yote kama kiapo chetu kinavyosema kwenye ethical guidelines. Medication reconciliation in pharmacist exit clinic, as I said, development of SOPs, protocol for good dispensing practice. And lastly, the role of pharmaceutical personnel in specialized therapeutic services. Ukiangalia for coming years nowadays, ukiangalia katika miaka hii hasa kwenye practice ya pharmacy Tanzania iko back. Lakini ukiangalia kwenye kwenye practice ya diagnostic services na special na clinical services iko ahead. Nina maana gani? Unaweza ukashangaa ukaingia kwenye ward round ukutana na professor, lakini a pharmacist ambaye amecombine na kwenye ward round is a pharmaceutical technicians or a pharmacist with a bachelor degree. Lakini kwenye hospitali ambayo ina digital x-ray, ina PET scan, ina MRI, ina Makobas 600. Sasa kwenye mazingira haya utakutana na complex diagnosis. It needs the complex medications, complex management also. It needs your pharmacist also to be complex, very competent pharmacist, ili kutoa therapeutics approach nzuri na mshauri. Kusema kwa dawa hii it needs this and this and this. Kwa dawa hii it needs this and this and this. But we are too back, and this is high time for us to go ahead to make our practice to be holistic. So you can look on the areas like obstetrics and gynecology. Naona kabisa kwenye wizara ya afya imeshusha huduma za mama na mtoto hasa za uzazi kwenye district hospital na imeenda zaidi mpaka kwenye vituo vya afya. We really need, even for a patient who suffer maybe for pregnancy induced hypertension, ambaye mara nyingi sana matibabu ya pregnancy-induced hypertension PIH inahitaji zaidi dawa na uangalizi. It is conservative treatment. Mgonjwa huyu anawezekana amepata pregnancy-induced hypertension kwenye wiki ya 29, wiki ya 30. Huwezi kudeliver kipindi hiki, unasubiri mpaka afike wiki ya 37 ndio ufanye delivery. Kipindi hiki chote ni conservative treatment. And the conservative treatment, it needs medications. Na ndio maana ukiangalia katika mradi wa Mama Samia wa afya ya mama na mtoto, kuna wafamasia wapo. Wale wafamasia role yao wanafanya ni kazi yake, ni kuensure availability of all supplies to be cost effective, quality, efficacious and safe. Ziwepo pale. Na vile vile kuweza ku-advise kwenye baadhi ya cases ambazo zinahitaji dawa na uangalizi. Maybe mgonjwa anahitaji nifedipine. Nifedipine inahitaji titration. Au methyldopa. Methyldopa inahitaji titration. Is when you need titration and what parameter should guide you in titration of methyldopa to highest dose, nifedipine to highest dose, and then to shift to other drugs like hydralazine. Orthopedics and pediatrics, pharmacotherapy, we know that dose calculation is very important. Titration, anti-pain management, antibiotics, and cardiolitics. Orthopedics is all about pain management. Antibiotics use are high, especially for surgical prophylaxis. We have to know to make surveillance on these areas. Skin conditions, not one size fits for all models. Tunafahamu kabisa soko letu lina kiasi kidogo sana cha strengths ambazo zinaweza zikafit au zikatreat skin conditions. Unakutana na benzyl peroxide ina 2.5, lakini sangine mgonjwa anahitaji 5%. Kwa ni area yetu sisi kama pharmacia kuona hii ni moja ya opportunity na kuweza kuemphasize kwenye hospital settings zetu. Palliative care, tiba shufaa, attend patient with refill for specialized medical cases. Kwa wale ambao wanafanya kazi kwenye level D ambao ni regional referral hospital na level C district hospitals. Kama mgonjwa kaja kwenye refill ya drugs na dawa yako huna, unatakiwa ufanye nini? Arrangement of super specialized mobile clinics is your areas to participate in the campaigning of cancer, cardiology, like in the ENT, orthopedics, gastrointestinal, BMT, and the infectious diseases, etc. So this I want to share with you guys, my friend and my colleagues, on these areas that we pharmacists, if we can do on all these things which are being emphasized in my presentation, it could be a pharmacist in hospital could be one of the conducive places and well developed areas in our setting nowadays and the coming days. Thank you, and over to you, Jahid.
Asante sana Zimbwe. Thank you very much for a very good talk. Nadhani umetufahamisha mengi sana, hasa what are the areas. I think you built well after Dr. Hillary's initial presentation. And this is a live example. He's from Dodoma. He is running one of the hospitals there. And you see, it is possible. It's just that we need to have that mindset to elimishe, to jipange, and everything is possible. So very good insight from a local perspective as well. So this will keep all of us, this will keep all of us thinking. I know we have many chief pharmacists on this call, on this Zoom, what we can do after this session and how the hospital pharmacy can help to help you in achieving your goals. Without wasting much of your time, now is the time for Q&A. Before we go to the question that have been put on the chat, I will give a chance to those who want to ask. We have very few slots, so those who have, can you please raise your hands so that I can we can start allocating people for questions. Any one of you has any question for any of the speakers? Yes, the chief pharmacist, Karibu. We are honored to have you, and yeah, you please go ahead.
Asante, and thank you very much, Jahid. Thank you, Dr. Is it Dr. Bilal, the one from Kenya?
Dr. Hillary. Dr.
Hillary. Thank you, Dr. Hillary, and thank you, Zimbwe Kauke from Tanzania. And I really appreciate how the the webinar have been set out, and we got the experience from both parties. But I'll just need to get ahead from Dr. Hillary. Probably it was that much clear for me. Relating to how within the Pharmaceutical Society in Kenya is operating in cooperation with the unions, workers' unions. I wanted to get that clarity on how are they engaging with them, and what are the advantages so far that they have gained in being with them on that board. And probably if we can learn something from that, because we don't see we are much engaged with the workers' union in Tanzania. That's one. But coming to Zimbwe, I just have to say he has done his job. He has opened our eyes to some of us who are on the field, but we don't know the areas which we can intervene and work on those areas. And I think he's doing all the best to ensure that we are getting outside of that window, like a small dish of the dispensing, to see how do we work on detail to save the patient that we are given the chance to do so. So I call upon my colleagues, the pharmacists at the hospitals, to see how they can tape that experience using the presentation that have been, the slideshow that have been shown from this point, and probably the narration that are being given out by Zimbwe Kauke, to ensure that they take them on board, even if they can start practicing it slowly, taking some of the best issues that have been addressed here to start using them. We might start moving from that small window towards the patient and having the very close engagement with the patient to ensure that they have the safety on the medication that they are taking. And probably we will be now moving towards showing our colleagues, the profession that we are working across the patient, that we are there, we can help, and we can work as a team to ensure that we maximize the services that we are providing, and as well as the quality of the services to the patient who are in need. Those are my comments for now. Maybe I'll come later. Thank you very much, Santeni-san.
Thank you, Asante sana, Chief Pharmacist, Mr. Daudi. Dr. Hillary, Dr. Daudi is our Chief Pharmacist from the Ministry of Health. I think if you can answer his question before we move to the other questions.
Thank you, Mujahideen, and thank you, Chief Pharmacist Daudi Musasi. Yes, in Kenya, we have an association called Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya. Basically, as an association, is just for lobbying, especially when it comes to regulatory legislative agendas concerning pharmacy. But when it comes to trade unions, we are part of a union that is called Pharmaceutical Society, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board. Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, where in Kenya, at least medical doctors, pharmacists, and dentists are recognized as doctors. Now, through that union, we are able to push for our agenda as doctors in terms of employment of interns, direct posting of interns, in terms of promotions of doctors. So we have made tremendous steps in terms of the welfare of doctors through that union. So the association is not a union per se, it just helps to push the agenda for pharmacists. But when it comes to the issue of trade unions, we are part of the Kenya Medical Practitioner and Pharmacists, Kenya Medical Practitioner, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, which now engages in government on matters on the welfare of doctors in Kenya. And we have really reaped huge benefits from it as pharmacists. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hillary. Hawa Sabura, please go ahead.
Thanks a lot, all the coordinators, organizing committee, Mujahideen, Dr. Hillary, and others. I really thank you very much for your nice presentations. I have just like two questions to Pharmacist Zimbwe. As he explained that he's been doing a great job as a pharmacist in his hospital where he's working. I just want to know a few about the ADRs, these are advanced drug reactions. Mr. Zimbwe, how are you managing at your hospital to collect those ADRs at your hospital setting? That is number one. Number two, I just want to know, are there other members of this hospital therapeutic committee concerned with this ADR correction, or only the pharmacists at your hospital? I just want to know, because it has been a great challenge in our country, especially in these healthcare providing facilities. Most of the people
She muted herself.
Sorry, Hawa, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, oh, sorry. So didn't you hear me?
Yeah.
Please repeat.
Okay.
I heard you about two questions.
Yeah, I had only
about
two.
How do.
Yeah, how are they managing to collect those ADRs from the hospital that Pharmacy Farm Zimbwe is working? Because it's a major challenge in our country, Tanzania. And
Okay,
I want to know also, how are other members of this hospital therapeutic committee are doing? How are they concerned, or only the pharmacists doing this job?
Okay, thank you for good question. And first of all, the collection of the ADR is a big challenge. I agree with you. And this year, I faced the same challenge to me. But what I was done in order to ensure the implementation, the sustainability of ADR collection, I established a drug information center. That is one of my role after being appointed as the chief pharmacist of the hospital. I established the drug information center. And one of the objective and the role for the supervisor for drug information center is to ensure the collection of ADRs are sustainable, but also the information being filled in should be filled in a VG flow, and making communication between the hospital drug information center to TMDA. So after that, I don't have any challenge after establishment. So what is being needed is just to become very strong to supervise and to engage people to be involved in collection of ADRs. And one of the great things which I established to make it sustainable, because we have the few number of employees and the staff. So we train interns on how to collect the ADRs and how to fill the information in the VG flow, but also even the field student. So that we can collect many ADRs from wards and even from clinics. That is how we do. And how is it being involved with other members of HMTC? Yes, we are being involved, but in order for information and to know their role is to make us to understand or to be informed. We have the client here, especially for clinicians and the nurses. That is their role, to inform us. We have the challenge from some client, maybe the use of medicines or medical devices, or maybe the vaccination. So you can come and collect. So this is just to making facilitations and to make them to understand. But the role of the HMTC also is to emphasize for clinicians to involve in the ADR, provision of ADR information, and collaborate with pharmacists, interns, and even for field students in collection of ADRs from hospital. That's all, and we have been successful in collection of ADRs nowadays compared to the previous days or years. Thank you. So I better advise you to establish a drug information center.
Thank you, Asante Sana. I think that could be a potential topic for one of our upcoming webinars: establishment of PM Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee, establishment of stewardship program, establishment of drug information center. Yeah, so please, and do share us what you want us to cover in the upcoming webinars, so they are informative and they are impactful on the ground. Hamisi, do we have any questions on the chat box? If you can share so that we can wrap up. Can you share two, and then we have Buganda who wants to even ask a question? Or let first Buganda go ahead, and then in the meantime, once it finishes, Hamisi, you can have 2 or 3 questions prepared before we close off. Buganda, you go ahead.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Kauke and Dr. Hirari, for a nice presentation. Mine is not a question, but just a few comments regarding our practice as a hospital pharmacist, particularly in practicing clinical pharmacy, offering clinical pharmacy services. This is a call to my colleagues. We need to take part in ward rounds. Let's please generate that culture of being part of the team. The real need us to be there to provide our views on medications, because somewhere our fellow doctors, our nurses, they lack a lot of knowledge with regards to medications, and we so much needed to be there. But then you cannot give what you do not have. So this is again a call that we need to develop a culture of learning, reading a lot of articles. But then as you participate in the ward rounds, the patients are the best books I can advise. Whenever you encounter patients every day, there are a lot of things, a lot of knowledges you impart on yourself, and that's why you build on your competence in offering the clinical pharmacy services. There are a lot we can do in advising on medication part. For instance, taking an experience at my workplace at Jakaya Kikwete Cardiac Institute. Nowadays, if you are not there as a clinical pharmacist, the doctors will even put in the plan that a pharmacist should come and review. So they have seen our role. We intervene a lot of medication errors. We are needed to be there. We encounter patients with a lot of comorbidities that somehow they may, have interfere with the quality of treatment to the patient. So as pharmacists, if we are there and you have knowledge on medication interactions, drug interactions, disease-drug interactions. We have patients with liver disease, we have patients with renal diseases, and somehow they might be needed to take medications that maybe they are hepatotoxic, maybe they are nephrotoxic, and as a pharmacist, you can advise either to do dosage adjustment or maybe to stop the medication. So we need to be there. What I've not said with pharmacists, we tend to have this sort of fear. Maybe we don't know what to speak. But if we develop a culture of learning every day, you eager to learn every day and to be part of managing the patients, then it's very possible. But I really do encourage you to take patients as books. Of course, we read books, we read articles, but then the experience, the clinical experience is very different. So it needs us to be there. Go there, see the patient, see the lab works, and do interpretation of the lab works, check the medications, try to relate if there are anything you can comment on the medication parts with relating with the lab works. For instance, we have patients, they do have derangements, electrolyte derangements, or the blood cell derangement, and they are using medications that can even exacerbate the conditions. So we need to be knowledgeable on those areas, the lab parameters, on how to interpret, and even sometimes you have to be, the person to advise. Maybe let's do this test. Well, for instance, last week I encountered a patient in ICU who was on heparin, and at that point of time, he was supposed to be taking 5,000 international units of unfractionated heparin. But then before the next dose, I went to check on the lab works, and I found he had a very high APTT. So immediately I had to check with the doctor to call the doctor and to advise the redo of the APTT, the coagulation profile. And then we found the INR was elevated at the same time the APTT was elevated, to the point when we noticed that going to the patient had also started presenting with signs of bleeding. So we had to start intervening. So that was an intervention by a pharmacist, and it is something that we can do everywhere in our settings. Like we have heard from Kauke, we can do therapeutic drug monitoring, not only by doing the analytics, like having the big machine like the Cobas 6000 Kauke mentioned. You can do therapeutic drug monitoring by observing the patient. Okay, you have given ibuprofen, and then you are expecting the patient to stop complaining of pain, and the patient doesn't stop complaining of the pain. That means maybe the ibuprofen is not working. The patient is experiencing severe pain. Maybe you need an opioid analgesic. So we need to be there. We need to be part of the teams. Another problem I have noticed, our dear nurses, they have problems with the dilution of medications. The dilution of medications, that is our role as pharmacists. We are supposed to be there in the wards to help in the dilution of medications, especially the concentrated electrolytes. But most of the time we are not in the wards, and the nurses are doing a lot of errors in the dilution of these concentrated electrolytes, but also the antibiotics. For instance, in the pediatric ward, we know that pediatrics, they use very small doses. So the tendency that has been there in most of the settings, they would reconstitute maybe, let's say amoxiclav injection. They give a small dose to the patient, and then they keep the rest of the reconstituted solution in the fridge, believing that it remains to be stable, that you can still use for the next dose. But in reality, the stability of these antibiotics do differ. Some of them, they need to be taken just immediately after reconstitution. But the practice has been there, and errors have always have been made. So if a pharmacist, you are there to advise on how to dilute, on how to store the medications, they will actually know your value. They will actually be every time in need of a pharmacist in the ward, and that's where your role will be highly noticed in the ward. So this is my call to you to my fellow pharmacists. Let's go in the ward. Let's take part in the management of the patients. Let's learn from the patients. Let's keep learning every day. Let's keep adding knowledge so that we are competent in delivering our services to the patients. Thank you.
Thank you, Buganda. Asante sana, some very good points. So I think tomorrow, let's watch out for Buganda. Is going to have Buganda. Which media are going to present on the rational use of drugs?
Yeah, so I'll be live on ITV from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay, so it's in commemoration of 70 years of Pharmacy Council. So him and Joseph will be presenting. Very good. I think some very good learning points from Buganda. We cannot share or we cannot give what we don't have. So that's where we start from. And then in line with what even the chief pharmacist says, we need to get out of our window, go towards the patients. And as Buganda said, the patients are the best books or the best learning for us. I think that is the only way, that's the best way of growing our profession, and we need to come out of our comfort zone. Hamisi, any questions? Any questions on the chat that I don't think we have much time. I think 2 questions from the chat and we need to close them.
Yes, we have only one. I've seen Dr. Hilary answering the question in the chat.
Okay.
So only one left. I think it's about how Kenyan hospital pharmacies are disposing drugs which are returned from the patients. So how are they disposing the drugs that are returned from the patient, maybe from ADR or not using anymore? So that question wasn't answered. I think Dr. Hilary can share.
So thank you, Hamisi. Thank you for that question, and I've tried to reply most of the question through chat. Yes, for disposal of medicines, we have guidelines from the Pharmacy and Poison Board. And what we advise the general public is that in case they have expired drug, they submit them to the nearest facility, which are mopped out by the sub-county pharmacists. They are collected, all of them, and then they are all submitted at the central level and submitted to the Pharmacy and Poison Board. We have 3 national incinerators for disposing of medicinal waste. Also, counties are empowered to destroy expired medicine, but at the moment it is a very long process. So what we advocate for is that patients bring the medicines to the central health, to the health center. They are collected and then submitted to the national government for official destroyment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hilary. One last question. Peter Masinde, I saw you had raised your hand. Do you still want to ask a question?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everybody. First of all, I would like to give out my great congratulations to former presenters, all of former presenters, starting with Dr. Hilal and then Chief Zimbwe. I have 2 questions, but one is just like an issue. My first question goes to Dr. Hilal. First of all, I would like to congratulate him for a lot of nice presentation and tips we got, but I would like to know how stable are they doing on pharmaceutical compounding in their facilities nationwide, and what challenge they face and how they solve them. The last is on general pharmaceutical industries campaign or practice. How stable are they on pharmaceutical industries as a nation? And the last issue, I would like to address it to our chief pharmacist, Chief Msasi Daudi. It's on the issue of vaccination. We have been seen, as Zimbwe said on his slide concerning with the issue of controlling of medicine and the vaccinations, but in our facilities we have been seeing most of the control area for vaccination is under
Sorry, Peter, are you there? We can't hear you. Okay, there might be some technical issues. Dr. Hilary, can you respond to his first question?
Thank you, Mujahid. Yes, I think I'd also responded the question in the chat, but yes, for extemporaneous compounding, we do it both at the hospital level, even not both, all levels, at the hospital pharmacy practice, at the community pharmacy practice, and in the industry, because there are well-established guidelines and SOPs on doing extemporaneous compoundings. So yes, in Kenya, we have that. For hospital section, being the chairman of HOPAC, we have also come up with guidelines to guide pharmacists on how to do extemporaneous compounding for the various skin conditions and many other conditions. So it's a practice that is very actively taken by pharmacists, including for children who are born with arteriosus ductus, the one that you have to compound the sildenafil and the liquid. So we have guidelines and documents on how to do that, and pharmacists are able to do that across all sectors of pharmacy practice in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you. Sana, Dr. Hilary. On this note, I would like to end this discussion. But before we end, we would like just 2 minutes. We'll take this. If everyone can take this, do this poll, and once the poll is done, Mr. Dawood Imtasi, would you like to close off with any comments?
It's okay. I can do that. Maybe first of all, I have to thank you. Let me go straight, I think. I have to thank you all for this webinar, and I think we should encourage, because I saw the limit was 100 people. Maybe you could see how we get an access to enroll more than that. Most of them probably dropped because they didn't have an access, let's say that way. And let's keep that pace to ensure that we have another coming. As you have said, Mujahid will take it throughout. So I think when you arrange another one, let us be involved, and then we can know the dates and the rest of the arrangement. And I'm impressed with the arrangement, having the experience from Kenya. Maybe the other time can have from Nigeria. You can just connect us so that we learn from them. And the other thing, this goes to my colleagues. Let's do our role. We are a pharmacist. We are experts of medicines, of which nobody beyond us can explain the better way on how the medicine works and how do they interact and how they can save the patients. So let's do our jobs, and let's be on top of that, so that we create a pace whereby the people now, they could start seeing the pharmacist, not only the doctors, because we are all called the doctors, because we are not portraying what we are doing and what are the expertise that we are having. So let's put that way. I think in a near future, if we take the way how Zimbo has done, and we saw how Muimbili, Dr. Buma was doing, and the rest of the team, and now I see Buganda is coming up, doing a good job in JKCI. This is the way how we can move out of that small window, and then people can recognize us. Thank you very much. I wish all the best for the next arrangement and the change that we are taking currently. Asante sana, nawashukuru sana Mjahid and the team. Thank you.
Asante sana. Thank you, Chief Pharmacist, for joining in your words of wisdom. So we have noted, I think we overlooked, so only 100, but we will make sure with our very capable IT team, we will ensure from next time onwards, we will have a wider number we can take. And yeah, we will involve you beforehand so that we can have a better impact and better organizer. This was just a start. We wanted first at least the hospital pharmacy to get recognized and to start off somewhere in our journey, in our long journey. On this note, I would like to thank Dr. Hillary from Kenya for, I know he was very busy.
Samani kidogo, there was a question regarding the vaccine management at the facility level. Let me put this this way. We are back on managing the vaccine at the national level. Currently at the national level, the pharmacists are there. We have more than 4 pharmacists working on the vaccines, the IVD center. We want it to go down to the facility level, but that goes with the current. I saw there was a training conducted by the GHSC, an expert that was taken up by our sister and some of the PSU guys toward the facility, wanted the pharmacists to be involved. So we hope in the near future, all those are commodities, and then we'll be engaged to ensure that they are well managed at the facility level. Thank you very much.
Sana, thank you. Yes, so on this note, I would like to thank the speakers, Dr. Hillary, for despite his busy schedule, and we know how busy he was today and this weekend, but Asante sana for making it. Pharmacist Zimbabwe, again, I know he's also very busy, and so thank you for both of you for taking out time, making the presentation, and if they are okay, if they allow, we will, on their permission, we will see if we can share the presentation and the video and the recordings, because of the limitation of 100 only. We will see how we can, I will check out with the PST and the presenters. If okay, we will share this session with you all. And most importantly, we need to keep this going. So we need your ideas, we need your, what do we need as hospital pharmacists to be discussed and your support. We might need some technical support here and there, and we would like to get different experience from different regions of Tanzania, not only the capital or not only the cities, but even other areas, rural areas. Let's see what discussions we can have, and that will have more impactful and more information which will help us to. And most importantly, we are here, the hospital pharmacy section is there to take your views, to advocate the best interests of hospital pharmacists, and where we can help through collaboration, like with other like Kenyan counterparts or other counterparts, FIP, or within, like we have seen some talents within us. Like we can see what Pharmacy Zimbabwe is doing, what MNH, what other hospital and private and public hospitals are capable of doing. We can do that sort of mentorship at institutional level, at personal level, so that we move ahead. On this note, I would even like to thank Hamisi. Hamisi has been very instrumental in organizing this session. Asante sana Hamisi, and Hosea, the IT guru. He has been he's made sure all this has been very smooth, and wherever there are small areas of improvement, we will take it from next time. And lastly, thank you all for joining. Have a good night, and I hope to see you for the next session.
Avuli baadaye. Asante sana Mzee, thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Asante sana. Thank you for joining. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much, Mujahid.
Asante sana, msisahau chat box.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Thank you very much.